Hello and welcome. This is our third in our series of building effective professional portfolios. And today we're going to be focusing on something incredibly practical, how to take the assignments you have already completed in your coursework and transform them into professional portfolio case studies that employers actually want to see. So this session is all about positioning. You already have the work. Now we're going to refine how you present it. And so this is a playbook for you to turn your projects into powerful portfolio stories. Um, what you don't want to do is take your template from a certain course and then just paste it into your portfolio. That's not going to make any sense to a potential client, or if you're interviewing for a job and that potential employer is looking at that. So there is a process to be able to take that assignment and turn it into a case study that is effective. So just a reminder, employers don't hire assignments. And we have talked about in earlier sessions about how your portfolio is your chance to do some storytelling. It's not just a showcase of what you can do, but it is a way for you to tell the story of who you are, what you're capable of, and to show the process along the way of the decisions you've made, if you had to pivot halfway through, or just that thought process behind it. So they hire problem solvers. Your portfolio tells that story. So some things that I want you to think about. Your portfolio is proof that you can, number one, identify problems. Number two, make decisions. Number three, create solutions. And number four, produce impact. And so that is what we are going to turn those templates and that coursework assignment into. All right, so the first thing is your clear problem. There needs to be a problem statement. You need to identify what your role was in that, the decisions you made along the way, and then any measurable or observable impact. And we talked about this a lot in session 2. So if you have not seen that, I would encourage you to go back and watch that again. And so how do we do this? Think like a hiring manager. Don't think like a student. So you need to take off that student cap that you're wearing while you attend classes and think instead about what a hiring manager wants to see. So here's your 6-part story formula. Number 1, set the scene. Number 2, think about the problem, the user or business challenge that you addressed. Number 3 is your process, the research, the strategy, and the design steps you took. Number 4 are your key decisions. This is the why behind your solution. You're telling the story all the way through. Number 5 is your outcome, measurable, observable results. And we talked about in session 2 how this might not be a measurable metric, a specific number. This might be feedback from your instructor or feedback from your peers. It could be something that maybe not even that did not even go well. So if it was not a positive outcome, what did you learn along the way? And that leads us into reflection. So what you learned, what would you do next? Would you do it the same way? Would you change the process along the way? All right, so here's your assignment. And we know what those templates look like. What do we do to change this into a case study? You can see that they look very different. The left-hand side, this is a Word document. A lot of your assignments are templates. The right-hand side follows kind of that specific grid that shows what a case study looks like. And I have shown a lot of examples of case studies in the past, especially in session 2, and I'm going to show you some more here as well. But you want them all to look pretty much the same. Follow that same grid. It makes it a lot easier for employers to see at a glance what you've done. Okay, reframing formula. So when you structure every project this way, your portfolio instantly becomes more professional and more consistent. I put a little camera in the corner because when you see a slide like this, I think it's a good place to take a screenshot and remember this particular path that you're going to follow for every assignment. All right, so we're going to see this in action, what this looks like. This is a fictitious class. I don't want to take an actual assignment and give you the answers to this. But this is what the example is. Created a social media campaign for a nonprofit as part of D372. Included audience analysis, content calendar, and KPIs. So this little blurb tells you what was done, but it does not tell you why it mattered. It sounds like homework. It does not sound like professional work. Now, changing this to the portfolio story version, it's the same project, but now it tells a story of impact. And so we start with the problem, we end with the outcome. Here's how they reworded this. To address declining engagement among 18 to 24-year-olds, I developed a data-informed social media strategy, creating a content calendar and a platform-specific messaging that increased projected reach and engagement by 30% based on benchmark metrics. And so you can see all of those roles there. You can see the problem, you can see what your role was in it, the process you took, and what your outcome was. It's the same project, completely different positioning. Okay, so let's break down why that works. When you lead with that core challenge, that problem, that's going to draw them in immediately. It's going to become problem focused, audience centered, action oriented, and outcome driven. That's the transformation you're aiming for in every case study. And so I outlined each one of those pieces. All right, so here's what you're going to keep from your assignment. Research insights, strategy or design rationale. Why did you choose what you did? Final deliverables, so show what your final thing was, whether that was an app you created or a website you designed. Show a picture of that. And then your tools that you used, Figma, Adobe, Analytics, etc. These show your thinking and technical capability. Here's what to cut. Employers don't care about this, and a potential client is not going to care about this. Your course numbers, rubric language. So anything that is specific to the rubric for that course, take that out. Step-by-step instructions. They don't need to see the task overview. Phrases like for my class. You want it to sound professional and not like you're a student completing an assignment. These details, if they're left in, weaken professional positioning. All right, so on the left-hand side, this template should look very familiar. This is from D640. It is the template that shows that SBI. It is blank. I did not give you the answers. But on the left-hand side, this is what the template looks like. All right, this is the situation. I came up again with a fictitious class. In my User Experience Design 2 course, I was assigned a project to evaluate and improve the usability of a nonprofit organization's website. The organization was struggling with low engagement and high bounce rates, particularly on their donation and volunteer sign-up pages. Okay, so we've got the situation. This is very much specific to this course. Behavior. So what did you do? I conducted an evaluation. The research shows all of the things that you brought in, the surveys, usability tests. It's very specific about what you did. I identified key pain points. Using these insights, I did these following things. So this is very good information that shows your process along the way. Impact. So what happened? What was the outcome? Usability testing on the redesigned prototype showed, and so we have some measurable things that we can put in there. 40% faster task completion for donations. These are quantifiable outcomes, but then we also have some qualifiable outcomes like increased user confidence and trust in the organization, improved accessibility compliance based on these guidelines. So what did you take away from this? This project strengthened my skills in research synthesis, interaction design, and communicating design decisions to stakeholders, demonstrating how thoughtful UX strategy can directly support organizational goals. So all of this information is great. We need to reframe it to put it into a case study. So here's what we're going to do. Again, use that same grid that you're using in your portfolio already. We want the title at the top, and you don't want task 1 of D640 or whatever that may be. You want to change it so it sounds professional. So this is what the title we came up with: Redesigning a Nonprofit Website to Improve Donations and Accessibility. What was our project overview? So this is your problem statement. A nonprofit organization was experiencing low engagement and high bounce rates on its website. Notice we did not say that this was the scenario from the task in our assignment, particularly on donation and volunteer sign-up pages. The organization needed a clearer, more intuitive user experience to increase conversions and build trust with visitors. On the right-hand side, we've got those things listed: my role, timeline. If you have something to put in there, you can include that, and then the tools that you used. So in that box, clearly label those things. And then below that, we are going to dive into that problem statement a little bit more, and why did we need to come up with a solution? And so we use that information that I showed you on the previous slide to put very specific language in there and show what process you used along the way. And so I'll give you a second that you can look at that. But here's what that case study would look like. And then on the right-hand side, we've got a picture. So this is a screenshot of what the process or the strategy that you used, because this specific assignment doesn't have a graphic that would go along with it typically. It wasn't an app that you built or anything like that. So you've got a screenshot that shows your process. Okay, and then this would go below the case study if you're doing a website on that page. If you're doing static pages like a PowerPoint presentation or an Adobe presentation, maybe this would go on page 2 if you're running out of room below. But this is your process and key decisions. So what did you do? And then on the right, your outcome, so your metrics. And then below that, your reflection. You can move these boxes in different ways. Whatever your grid system looks like on your portfolio, we really encourage you to use a grid system because it's clean and it's easy to read. And if all of your case studies follow that same format, it's easy for employers to see at a glance what you've done, what your role was, what the outcome was. But you can change these boxes and move them around, make them look different, as long as all of these pieces are there. So this formula works for any discipline. You can take the UXD assignment, communications assignment, maybe some of your gen ed courses have something that you want to include. So your UXD assignment might be designed wireframes for a food delivery app. Your portfolio story is going to look different. You're going to reword it. Redesign the onboarding flow to reduce user drop-off by simplifying navigation, clarifying value propositions through iterative wireframing and usability testing. See how much more professional that looks. All right, so just to review, the things that you're going to keep, the things that you're going to cut, and then just think about your language, things that you can swap. So instead of saying the assignment required, then instead say the project goal was blank. We don't want to talk about assignments, course numbers, rubrics, all of that. Instead of saying I had to blank, maybe step it up a little bit, something a little bit more professional. I identified the need to blank. That leads me into the next one. So professional language shifts. Small wording shifts can make a very big difference. So replace the assignment required blank with the project goal was blank. Or another example, I had to do blank, or I identified the need to do blank. So if you want to take a screenshot of this just as a reminder to just think about how you're wording things and if it sounds like you're a professional in the industry. Power verbs. Okay, again, think about how you're explaining your process and what your steps were. What were those verbs that you have in there? And maybe make them a little bit more exciting or a little bit more descriptive. Use strong action verbs like researched, analyzed, designed, tested, iterated, optimized, launched, evaluated. Power verbs signal ownership and initiative. And sometimes I need to consult with a thesaurus. You can look up a thesaurus online and plug in a word and look for some different options because you start using the same one more than once. But think about how you're wording things. Use verbs that show you didn't just complete tasks, you drove results. You want action, strong action verbs. Okay, so this is your reusable structure. This is your template for a portfolio. Project title, we talked about that. Do not put a course number. Do not put task 1 or task 2. Context, so this is your course plus real world scenario. So you're going to reword the scenario that you used from that specific task and change it to sound like a real world scenario. Your problem statement. So your user or audience challenge. Your role, your process, and the process we break down. You saw that on another screen there. Research, design, your strategy. Decisions. Remember, tell the story. Why you chose your solution, what was the outcome, the metrics, the feedback, the improvements. And then reflection. What would you do the next time? Was it successful? Great. Reflect on that. Was it not successful? That's okay. It's still a valuable case study because employers or clients want to see if something didn't go right, what did you learn from that and what would you do differently next time? So just because something didn't work doesn't mean it's not a valuable case study. All right. I asked a student if I could possibly show her portfolio because I thought it was an excellent example of how to include case studies. And so I would normally put a link to this in the chat. If you would like a link to this, send me an email because I am happy to send you all of the resources. I'm going to send some more links as we go through this. But for right now, I will show you the screenshots. So this student is a UXD student. This is a picture of the beginning of her portfolio where she talks about who she is, what she's about, and then below she's got her case studies. Now she doesn't have these in boxes. She chose to do it this way, and this is a website also. So do it what makes sense to you. You might notice we talked about in session 1 of portfolios the choices that you make with colors and with themes to make sure that that is very seamless throughout. And she did a really great job of making this look very professional, and she choosing the same color scheme to go throughout the whole thing. It's a really great example of a portfolio. All right, so next, I'm going to go back. So I chose one of these case studies. So when you click on this, this is a website. When you click on this, this is what you will see. You're going to get all the information about that case study. So this is how she set hers up. She's got her project overview. She explains what the project was, what her role was, what was the goal, and she's got those below, what the impact to the target audience, what the timeline was. She included all of the important pieces of a case study. And then research and discovery, key findings, and then on the right, she has all of the design process and some screenshots of what that looks like. All right, this is another portfolio. Again, if you send me an email, I will send you the links to all of these. This, she did a little bit different. You can see a picture of what her portfolio looks like here. She does a really great job with the graphics that she uses. And then she has her case studies listed right on top of each other. So she has it in more of a list view. She did a really great job of using a graphic to draw you in. And then when you click on that, you will get all the information about the case study. Here's another one. Now this one used a lot brighter, more vibrant colors, but you will see the way that she did her case study are in boxes. Her picture is a little bit bigger, and then on the right-hand side, I know it's very little, it's hard to see it in this. I will send you the link, but it says very brief description of what this case study is about. So what the title of the project was, what the role was, what the tools were used, and that's about it. And so then when you click on it, you're going to get all the information about that case study. All right, here's another one. Now this one is a different way of doing it as well. I tried to pick some very diverse types of portfolios so you can see how different people choose to do their case studies and structure them. So this one has her portfolio preview, and then she has these white boxes underneath where she added her case studies. And so when you click on that second one, on the right-hand side, I blew that up a little bit, what you will see. And so she's got the graphic of the app that she created and all of the information about it, the metrics, what her role was. All right, next. So on the left here, you'll see this is the beginning of this portfolio, Matt's portfolio, and then he's got these case studies underneath. Now, he doesn't have any description of them, but he's got really great graphics. And so when you click on them, you will get the information of what that case study looks like. Okay, a key to having a great case study is writing a strong project summary. Each project should start with a 3 to 5 sentence summary. Lead with the problem. Let that be the very beginning of it, and end with the impact. This is your executive summary. Think recruiter attention span, which we've talked about before, is very short. You want your very best case studies at the beginning of your portfolio. You might get 3 minutes max for a recruiter to look at your portfolio. So you want that to be strong. All right, here's an example. So this is a project summary. Visitors to ABC's nonprofit's website struggle to donate easily and quickly. That's the problem, the issue. Through user research and iterative prototyping, I redesigned the donation flow, tested changes with target audience, and enhanced accessibility. So this shows your role and what your process was. And then as a result, donations doubled and user satisfaction scores increased by 40%. This is a great project summary. Notice problem first, action second, results last. This structure keeps it tight and powerful. All right, what if you don't have real metrics? You can use things other than hard numbers. If this is a situation where you can't get that, some things that you can use: usability testing results, feedback from others. So maybe you design something, or your assignment asked you to go into Teams and get some feedback from other students. Or maybe you even went outside of WGU, you took your assignment to a coworker or someone who's in the industry and asked for some feedback. Feedback can definitely be results. An A-B comparison. So if you have something that you can compare your results to, this is what it was like before, this is what it's like now. It could be customer satisfaction, something that might not be a measurable number, but you can show what it was like before and what it's like after. Instructor evaluation. If you have some feedback from your instructor, if you had a revision and you met with your instructor and they talked you through some things and you had that opportunity to get their feedback, include their feedback. That's valuable. And then I already talked about peer feedback. So observable impact still counts. Here is examples of what that might look like. Usability testing results. So these are numbers. Increased task completion rate from 60% to 95% in user tests. So there's an example of a hard number. A-B comparison outcome. So version B outperformed version A in user preference tests. If you can show that, what that brings to mind is like Pepsi and Coke. Sometimes, you would do those anonymous surveys or something where you've got a cup of each and see which one customers seem to prefer. That's an A-B comparison. Positive instructor evaluation, received top marks for strategic thinking and execution. Remember those excellence awards in this spot. If you received an excellence award, definitely include that in that description of your case study. And then qualitative peer feedback. So peers noted the clarity and intuitiveness of the final design. That's an example of how you could word that. Making your portfolio skimmable. Headlines, bullets, visuals, short paragraphs. Make it easy to scan in under 60 seconds. Recruiters skim, so you want it to be very easy for them to find the information they're looking for. Okay, so here is your activity. I want you to think about one WGU project that you have completed, one assignment. We have said before that if there is a template, that is kind of a clue that this belongs in your portfolio, but not just taking that template and copying and pasting it. That doesn't work. So pick one of those projects, just one. Use that six-part story formula that I showed you, and I want you to rewrite the beginning of it as a 3 to 5 sentence summary. Remember to lead with the problem and end with the impact. So just a very tight, concise, powerful sentence or summary of what your project was. All right, and here's your checklist. Is the problem clear and compelling? Did you clearly identify your specific role and what your contribution was? Did you clearly explain your process and key decisions along the way? And then were you able to show an outcome or an impact, whether that is quantitative or qualitative? And then a brief reflection that shows what you learned. Normally, if this is a live event, this is kind of our chance to share with one another and talk about how we would reframe things. If you would like some individual feedback on yours, I am happy to do that, and you can email me at the end. Here's some common mistakes that people make with case studies. It's too academic. So remember, you need to take off that student hat and put on that recruiter hat. It needs to sound professional, and professional is different than academic. Or it's too vague. You want to have some clear details and some outcome and impacts that you can include. No clear role. Definitely this is your chance to kind of toot your own horn. This is what you did and that your actions affected the outcome. And then make sure that you do have an outcome. Here's some things that students can use. Notion, Webflow, Adobe Portfolio, Wix, Figma. Choose something that is simple and clean. You don't need expensive software. You can build your portfolio using any of these types of things, or maybe something different, just as long as it is a digital representation of your work and it includes a space where people can really get to know you and what sets you apart. Consistency across case studies. When you find a format that you like and fits you, whether it was one of the examples that I showed or it's something that you come up with on your own, keep that same template for all of your case studies so that a recruiter can quickly see what was the problem, what was your role, what was the impact in every single case study, because it shows up in the same spot on every page. Reusable language library. So create a small bank of phrases like, this project addressed the challenge of blank. My role focused on blank. The final solution resulted in blank. This speeds up writing for future case studies. So if you come up with some specific language that sounds pretty good, just make a list of that. That's your bank of phrases that you're going to use, that reusable language library. Okay, if you have group projects that you have worked on, whether this be in a job that you have or whether this was something at WGU, maybe even an internship. I know a lot of students are involved in a HubSpot internship, and that's a group project. So when you use a group project for a case study, it changes a little bit because you want to clearly state what was your individual contribution to that. What you owned, what you contributed, what decisions you influenced. Employers need clarity about that. But those are definitely available to be a case study as well. It doesn't have to just be an individual project. Visual storytelling. So show your work visually. Use screenshots, annotations, process flows. Don't just tell, show. a picture is worth 1,000 words. Is that what that saying is? So it is true. You want to use great pictures that show what you did. And then connecting portfolio to interviews. Use the same story structure when answering interview questions. We have talked, I think, at different times about when you are going into an interview, you use that SBI format. When you went through D640, that giving, receiving, and incorporating feedback, we talked about the different types of feedback there are. And in an interview, a lot of times they will ask you to give an example of a time blank. And so instead of just answering it, think about it in that SBI format. What was the situation? What was the behavior? And then what was the impact? And if you want to think about your portfolio, you can even go a little further. What was the situation, the problem? What actions did I take? What was the result? And then what was your reflection afterwards? So the more you do your case studies, I think the more comfortable you'll get thinking in those terms, but carry that through into your interview. So here's your action plan as you leave, a little homework if you would like. Select 2 projects from your coursework, different assignments that you have done, or maybe something you have done in your current job. Apply that template, that 6-step story formula, and then publish it. Do it. Put it on your portfolio. Remember, you're going to change your portfolio a million times before you graduate. Just get it out there and then get some feedback. Get some feedback from your instructors or put it in the Teams channel and get some peer feedback. Show it to coworkers or a manager and see what they have to say. Action builds momentum. And if you attend these different classes or live events that I've had, and then you don't put it into practice, you'll forget what you even learned. So take a step, find 2 projects. That's my challenge to you. Find 2 projects, apply this formula, this template, and then see what people think. Get some feedback. And this is kind of just saying that again if you want to take a screenshot of that so you'll remember. And then if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them. You can send me an email and I will put that at the end of this presentation. Just remember that you already have portfolio worthy work. I don't want you to feel that imposter syndrome because you're a student and you're using your coursework to build your case studies. You have portfolio worthy work. You definitely do. And you have a story that's worth telling. And so you want to know, you want to be able to tell that story in a professional way. So employers understand your value. Your experience matters, your thinking matters, your impact matters. So your job now is to present that strategically. And I would encourage you to share those types of things in those team spaces so that you can get some feedback from your peers. Thank you so much for attending. I will put my email address at the end of this so that you can reach out to me if you have any questions. Definitely go back and look at session 1 and session 2 of the portfolio series to catch anything you might have missed. And please join me for the next in the series, which is wrapping up your portfolio and getting ready for an interview as you graduate. Thank you again.